Hello and welcome to another Overpaid Over the Bar mini league video with me, Anthony. How are you doing? Let's first of all look back at last week's game week, which was game week 33. So, if you can see here on the screen, you can see my team, 78 points I scored this week. And if you look at the Overpaid Over the Bar mini league, it puts a little bit, well, I actually took a hit, so that's 6 points I gained on Piers, not very much. Piers had the assistant manager, and this time he put it on a favourite instead of an underdog and got more points. But unfortunately for him, there was a Mateta equaliser at the end of the Arsenal game, which robbed him of, I don't know, 6 points or 4 points at least. So he can't have been happy about that. But at the same time, he is now undisputed leader because I'm quite far behind. Everybody in the mini league this week took a rank rise unless they were passed by somebody else as well because we had a dropout this week. So unfortunately, Tom Crossland, who had such a great season up to this point, will not be contesting the rest of the season, at least not in our mini league. And I mean, this is quite common among players where they feel that FPL um, uh, interferes with their everyday life too much. And I got to respect that. I know a lot of people. We used to have a great player on here called Johnny Horth, who was basically unbeatable. I could never. I think I beat him once in 9 years or something, and he eventually quit because he said it just took up too much of his time, and he couldn't. It actually stressed him out more than it gave him pleasure. And that's common, you know. People often feel that way about it. The competitive nature of it makes people feel frustrated when they don't achieve what they want to achieve. So I just want to say this is not directed at Tom. This is directed at everyone else. Tom's not with us anymore, at least not in the fantasy football league. He's with us in every other way. Um, I just want to say I know it's glib and kind of don't take it too seriously. I mean, it's a game, you know, and if you feel frustrated by it, sure, you can drop it. But at the same time, I think there's a way of playing it at the level that suits your life and not dominates your thinking. I mean, for example, I had a really bad game week up until the last game. I mean, the last game totally saved me this week. All my goal scorers in my team came in the Arsenal Crystal Palace game, including Kiwior in defence, which was a absolute lifesaver in terms of the game week. But on up until that point, I was having a really bad game week. I thought, well, there's no way I'll make my goal for this season, which is 100K. There's no way I'm going to do that. But by Sunday night, Monday, I was like, well, whatever. I gave it a go. It's fine. Like it's not. If I don't make 100K this season, I will be disappointed. But I mean, I still had fun this season. I've had fun all the way through. That's why I do these videos because I'm trying to make it more fun for me as well as hopefully for other people. But I think by this stage of the season, people are not really watching the videos. They're not really taking as much interest if they're not high up their leagues, which again is fair enough, and probably is taking my advice in a sense. Like, don't spend too much time on it if it doesn't give you that much joy. It gives me loads of joy, of course. I like watching the Premier League. I don't have a Premier League team to support unless Jose Mourinho comes back, and then I'll be able to support any team that's playing against him because I absolutely hate Jose Mourinho. Let me just make that absolutely clear. For various reasons, which I'm not going to go into. I'll probably, if you've on the chat, I've done it before. But there's talk of him coming back. I really don't think he will go to Leeds. I saw that suggestion. I don't think they can afford him. He charges a lot of money. But anyway, so I don't know how I've got into him. Right, this game week, what happened in this game week? Let's have a look. Fixtures and results. So we had lots of really bad games. Let's be clear, like Crystal Palace, Bournemouth, West Ham, Southampton, Man United, Wolves was evidently a bad game. I didn't obviously watch that. I never watched Man United. Spurs, Forest. I didn't see, but people said it wasn't that good. The good games were Aston Villa, Newcastle, obviously Brentford, Brighton, and Man City Villa was pretty good. And Arsenal Palace wasn't bad at all, given that there was not much at stake for Arsenal. Um, they really did give it a bit of a go. So yeah, some good football on there, and some predictably low returns from the favoured players. I did say I couldn't decide who to captain. I couldn't see any of those players really hauling that much, and in the end, I went for Marmoush, who just, I mean, didn't really. He got chances. He got two full games under Guardiola, which is a miracle for any Manchester City attacking player to get two games without being substituted. But he didn't return because it's hard in that City attack to get a lot of clear chances because they very much share them around with each other. So all in all, not a bad game week. Oh, we should mention we should mention that I have four nephews playing in this mini league. Well, Adam, Freddie, and Rob Speak, and John Wilson. And John Wilson is winning the nephews' cup right now. He's just gone past Rob Speak. So Rob Speak might think there's nothing else to play for, but he has forgotten the nephews' cup. And he's amazing week for John Wilson. Son apostrophe of pitches 11. 95 points. He played his bench boost. He had Gay and Wood and Henderson on the bench. I think he probably would have had them on the bench. Yeah, they're not just randomly there. They would have probably been on the bench, those players. So despite getting two minus scores for two players, he also captained a player that returned in Rodgers. So this is a fantastic week for John Wilson, who perhaps will be lifting that trophy, the Nephew's Cup, at the end of the season. But let's see how it goes. Okay. Also did very well. Triple champion Craig Anderson and slots machine Matt Cox. Creeping up on me here. 35 points, Craig. Matt Cox is a little bit further behind. Craig must still reckon he's in with a shout here to at least get past me. He's probably a bit too far behind Piers, 83 points. But that brings us around to this game week. So game week 34 is what they call a blank game week, given that there is not a full calendar of fixtures. So the teams that doubled last week, Crystal Palace, Manchester City, Arsenal, and Aston Villa, don't play in game week 34. And there's a couple of fixtures here that stand out. Newcastle home to Ipswich, Wolves home to Leicester. But not only those, you've got Liverpool home to Spurs. Now, Liverpool will be lifting the Premier League trophy on Sunday if they don't lose this game, and Anfield at home to Spurs. You would imagine that they will not only win this game, but win it quite easily. So if you've got transfers, if you're free hitting, which many people are this week, you'll be loading up on Liverpool, Newcastle, and Wolves, and possibly Chelsea, who are home to Everton. Chelsea are not bad for clean sheets, If you check out their history, they're not great, but they're not bad for them. Well, not in terms of, actually, they're not good for clean sheets, but they're good for XG. What's it called? Whatever it's called, expected goals against. They're quite good in that statistic. Their defense has let in more goals than it should have done, given the quality of the defense. So if you're looking at players for free hit this week, let's go through the teams one by one. So if you're looking at Wolves, there's Ait Nuri, Strand Larson, and Cunha, the most obvious picks. You could also go Jose Sarr if he's fit. We don't know he's fit in goal. For Liverpool, obviously Mo Salah may very well be the captain choice for some people. Some people might go for Isak at home to Ipswich. Mo Salah, Trent Alexander-Arnold almost certainly will start this game. Possibly a good pick for this. You could also pick another defender like Van Dijk or Konate. Um, Luis Diaz is a player I've been talking about a lot the last couple of weeks. I watch Liverpool fairly regularly. I watched almost all their games, and I would say that he is looking sharper than he's looked for quite a while. And I think in this game he could get something. I think Luis Diaz is a good transfer in this game. The only doubt is whether Jota or Gakpo, whether Slot decides to go with both Jota and Gakpo, which would obviously deny Luis Diaz a starting place. But I don't see that happening. I think he will. So that's Liverpool. Newcastle, we said Isak. Now, midfield's a bit tricky for Newcastle because now Anthony Gordon's fit again. You've got Gordon, Barnes, and Murphy, and it's unlikely he'll start all three of them. In fact, almost definitely won't. Now, whether you think Gordon will be allowed to come back in ahead of two form players in Murphy and Barnes is up to you. I don't think he will. I think he'll keep Anthony Gordon on the bench, but he's such a big player for Newcastle. I mean, he's their star player apart from Isak. That's also hard to see that will be left on the bench, especially a player like him who has a lot of market value and it's getting to the end of the season. They don't want to piss him off that much. Perhaps he does start, and if he does start, he probably starts ahead of Barnes, which seems ridiculous given Ashley Barnes is four. Is it Ashley Barnes? Whoa, no, it's not, is it? He used to play for Burnley. It's another Barnes. I forgot his first name. I could be right. I don't know. So ahead of Barnes, is he going to start, Gordon? I mean, honestly, I think the best bet is Murphy. I don't think out of the three of them, I think it's unlikely he'll start Gordon ahead of Murphy on the right. I think it's unlikely he'll start Barnes ahead of Murphy. And one thing I've noticed about Murphy since I owned him is that his decision making is absolutely spot on. Like the passes that he picks, the runs that he makes, all those little things that make a footballer top level when they're not necessarily top level in terms of technique. He's got those in abundance. Like he's a manager's dream. He knows exactly where to be. He's brilliant defensively, does all the cover, picks the right pass. I mean, there was an assist a couple of weeks ago where he's on the byline quite near the goal and he sees somebody coming in about 8 yards out and just I think it's actually, yeah, it's Barnes, whatever his first name is. He plays the pass in for Barnes, and it's not the pass you expect. It's not the pass the defenders expected. And I looked at that, oof, that that's the kind of thing that I like. So I think Gordon will. Sorry, I think Murphy will start. Um, Out of the three of them, I think he's the most likely to start. Whether you want to pick him or not, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. You might want free Newcastle in you could have at the back, you could have anybody. You could have Share, you could have Trippier, who a lot of people are favouring. You could have Livramento, or you could have Pope in goal. That Pope is still alive. He's still in goal for Newcastle. So, apart from that, we've got Chelsea, Everton, Cucurella. I think is the best pick of all the Chelsea players, apart from Palmer, and I wouldn't. Maybe Sanchez in goal is worth picking. I mean, Palmer's up to you. You could say he's not, he's on terrible form, but then he's playing Everton at home and he's on all set pieces. I, I mean, I think I'm going to have him. I think I'll have him. Um, who else in the Chelsea team? I mean, Pedro Neto is somebody who's starting every game and it gets returns. Um, you also have Fulham playing at Southampton. So you could go for an attacking Fulham player or a defensive Fulham player. They have this player, is it Sessegnon? Is it Sessegnon on the wing, who's a defender? He's listed as a defender in fancy football, but he's actually a winger. So that's a good one. You could get Anthony Robinson. You could have Leno, the goalkeeper. Um, Now, Wolves against Leicester, we did that right. Nuri, Strand Larsen, and Cunha, probably the best picks. So, Forest against Brentford's an interesting one. You've got Mbermo, who's on back on form. I mean, he's always kind of on form in a way. He just goes off form for 3 weeks and then hauls 15 points at some point. And you've got Forest at home looking to get in the Champions League places. And remember, those games, those teams that are poised in the Champions, like Chelsea, Newcastle, Forest, Aston Villa aren't playing this weekend, but those teams, Manchester City, also not playing this weekend, those teams are going to put out very strong selections now. So you'd have to fancy Forest at home to Brentford, and you'd have to fancy them to keep a clean sheet, I think. So that's another team that's worth looking at. It's a blank game week, but there's plenty of options. And I think, you could load up on just three teams, Liverpool, Newcastle, and Wolves, but you could also spread it around. And that might be the that might be the most sensible option, actually. Bournemouth are playing Man United. You got Clivert, you've got Evan Nilsson. I mean, you got to fancy them home to Man United, don't you? So it's much tastier than the previous game week was, with much fewer fixtures or many fewer fixtures. You don't care whether I say much or many. Um, so if you're playing free hit, it's quite fun. If you're not playing a free hit, I mean, just go with the transfers that you think are the most likely. You've probably already got Newcastle and Salah, you know. Um, I mean, that's a good start anyway. Right. If you're an assistant manager and you're top of the league, then who would you who would you put as manager? Somebody you didn't want three players from, maybe. Let's have a look. I think you could put it on. I think Eddie Howe. I really think Eddie Howe, to be honest. But I mean, it could be in that any of those favorite managers, really. All right, so that's all from me for this week. FA Cup semi-final should be quite interesting. I probably won't watch it myself, but I actually got things going on this weekend for a change. So have a great weekend. Champions League comes back next week. Champions League next week comes back. Semi-finals. That'll be exciting. And take care. Bye bye.